Hi, I found the low res button again. So here we go. ALLATRA TV International, a non-governmental organization, NGO, from the Ukraine, based in apocalypse in the end times, and one of the videos is under Kaleidoscope of Truth or Facts about it, number 10. It's a pan-Slavic, not overtly nationalistic, but you could say ethnicity-based group. It's inspired by Tibetan mythology, or misinterpreting it to create something back in the 1890s or 1870s, actually. Someone was inspired by Tibetan mythology to do this, but let's go on. Russian Empire inspired this. Also, 1875's American-Russian immigrant Halyna Blavatsky. Theosophy. Anyway, a guy under the name Nicholas Roerich made up a mythical character, Rigden Dejopo, I can't pronounce it correctly, retitled as King of Shambhala, as an end-time savior that was then invoked in the year 2000 and beyond by a person who used the pseudonym, not a real person's name, Anastasia Novykh. All to co-narrate ALLATRA to the Russians. Now I'm going to explain this in plain English for you. In any given century, you're going to get any population wanting to reinvent a mythology, politics, culture, society, civilization, which is always a good thing in my opinion. Just let's stir it up a little bit. But when you crib note Tibetan mythology that's actually well understood and misquoted, and when you invoke the idea that everybody on the planet is beholden to some group of people and you're channeling them in the 1870s, we don't have to listen to you. And then someone outright just creates someone that they're retitling later on the King of Shambhala. I'm supposed to listen to it. Now, the reason I'm doing the video this way is I'm going after the originating source. I consider none of this of any value, but that doesn't change anything. A group of people to get together and do a comic book and put a huge amount of truths in it. But any group of people that teaches the apocalypse and the end times in the 1800s is going to predict it within your lifetime to scare you into obeying them, or say that it'll happen in your lifetime, and they also said that you can reincarnate and a bunch of other things. We didn't have an end times occurrence. We never do. Every single person or group that comes up with this ideas, but that's not the main thrust of it. It's about other things. Okay. But this is the main thing I can look up that I've already looked up before. And yeah, this is the Reader's Digest version, Wikipedia version of it, in the first paragraph. But it's primarily a Russian version of making up some cult, like the Nation of Islam in the United States, not being based on Islamic teachings in any way, shape, or form, really, and being a uniquely American phenomena from a guy who lied about his identity and disappeared one day. And it being virtually identical in that case to the Church of Scientology, based on somebody who is not misquoted as saying, if you want to make money, if you want to really get rich, start a religion. I'm sorry, but I don't have to take them seriously. But let's talk about what a video was about. Someone asked me simply this. From the 9-minute to the 12-minute mark, and from the 38-minute mark to the 1 hour and 27 mark, can you make sense of this knowledge? Is this bull or fact? If you got 8 hours to kill, about all of it? And Anunnaki. There's a lot more, but I don't want to waste your time. I can't load the video correctly. It's a stream. It's literally an 8-hour-long stream. This is only the first hour and a half of it. And unless somebody chops it down at least that small, I'm not going to be able to check this. But what is it about? The assertions and the conversation below it are about this. The Anunnaki. That's all. Is the Anunnaki what is being presented about? Well, the group that we're talking about, the ALLATRA group, cites a couple of people who have been found out to just fucking lie about history and make up bullshit stories. If they're basing it on any of that, or even invoke it, I don't think it's useful. But let's talk about that now. Now, again, I can't review the video because it won't play correctly. This is YouTube. The data source cited by the channel and whatever doesn't have a transcript, so I can't cite that. And I'd like to point out it shows a classic image of a person who is obviously not a human with eyelids that have sub-eyelids that close like this to a slit inside of the area of the cornea, which is not something that any animal has done, nor a plant or fish or any similar thing. Nothing. Yes, I even looked up plants that might do something like this. And it is a computer-generated image that's at the point that I was able to see that this was linked to. And then the audio went dead and YouTube wouldn't play correctly. And I have no restrictions on it. I removed all the restrictions on my computer, said use all the RAM you want, still doesn't load. So, right there we have a phony baloney video. It's made to look good, but it is absolutely faked. And whatever audio was with it won't load. And the organized group cites Zachary Stitchin and Eric Van Duncan and other sources that never tell the truth. I mean, they've been caught lying. They're not making a mistake. So at this point, we have pseudoscientists being cited recently, pseudoscientists in the 1800s, another person overtly making up a mythical creature or character called King of Shambhala, and all this is about end times, and mostly it's about Pan-Slavic. The Ukraine is the seat of all everything. It sounds like an overly nationalistic mythology thing, a lot like Adolf Hitler created for the Nazis. Now, I don't know if that's an accurate depiction at 7 minutes. I'm saying this. I don't know if this is accurate. So let's talk about what they base it on currently, the thing they invoke. It doesn't matter anywhere, just the Anunnaki, which lots of spelling differences. Ancient Sumerian deities in Babylonia, Assyria, and Acadia. This history is not extremely limited or contradictory. There's plenty of data about it. There's an assertion in this video saying that what about this is so, contradictory and hard to find and mysterious. Nothing, not a damn thing is mysterious about it. I mean, there is information that's missing, but the Anunnaki, as presented, what you're actually talking about, is stuff you can look up and learn about. The information has people having different opinions, but the data sources are not impossible to find. And the reason you have contradictions between two different cultures or entire civilizations, sometimes many, many years or centuries apart, is because they did different stories. It's storytelling. If something's inconsistent, why would you assume it has to be real? It doesn't have to be. But then, Zachary Sitchin and Eric Von Duncan, who, again, are notorious for fucking saying things that are not real, and then when this is pointed out to them, just found out to be lying about it. Deliberately misquoting ancient Sumerian text that has been deciphered a long time ago. Not questionable. Confirmed. Lying about it. Their claim is that all religion, or some religions, or religious texts like Sumerian texts in the Old Testament is easier to explain not as fantasy writing, because you don't want to tell a Christian or an Islamic fundamentalist that what was written down by human beings could not be real, or it could be just lies, or it could be misinterpretations by accident. You can't do that. It has to be inerrant. So they have to have seen something. What can we explain it by? And I'll admit, explaining it as aliens visiting the planet, or especially transdimensional aliens, works, especially describing what is described as what an actual angel looks like. If you're not aware of the Ezekiel's wheel thing, a multi-dimensional creature would appear to be very confusing. Be not afraid is really, please stop screaming, I'm trying to help you. I mean, I'm not kidding. Looking into the maw of the damned is what it would look like, even if it was an angel, all right? Just saying that, okay? You don't want to meet a multi-dimensional creature. It would look really scary, and I don't think you'd tolerate it. But anyway, they make claims that all religion has to be a reaction to prehistoric visits and contact with extraterrestrial, ancient astronaut, alien races, maybe from Nibiru or whatever. What is their evidence for it? Misquoting every single source they find, lying about them, and acting like something's never been translated or figured out, and acting like you can't drill a hole in a hunk of wood or stone. It has to be done with lasers when there's no evidence of lasers used. And they also misquote the Old Testament, Koine Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. And sometimes just phony up information. I want to point out that the American-Russian immigrant Halyna Blavatsky was also caught faking evidence as well. This religious organization, started apparently by Nicholas Roerich, made up a mythical character and called him King of Shambhala later. None of this is based on things that are independently corroboratable. If you discover in two different places in the United States, on the continent of the United States, the skull of a T-Rex, and then compare them to each other and figure out they're the same creature, that just means you found the same skull on different parts of the continent, which means it was at least over this continent at some time. If you do independent testing of them to figure out how old they are, you might get the right date. That doesn't mean space aliens. That just means you found a skull that's really huge, Hugo-sized, or whatever. And it indicates to you found something ridiculously weird. But that's it. Now, when you find out the rest of the skeleton matches much more closely to a chicken, you might be able to figure out, maybe, that these were really the ancestors of birds, and that they got smaller and covered with feathers because they got colder and harder to find food. That is not really hard to figure out, that little dinky lizards that happen to have feathers instead of scales are the origin story for it. That and the fact that we can check on this because there are birds with scales and there are lizards with feathers. Or not really lizards, they're actually just related to ancient dinosaurs. And a couple of them even have that hook on the foot, so we literally have a modern day equivalent to velociraptors. Holy fucking shit. So anyway, but we discover these things. We don't start off with the assumption, I've got to stick aliens everywhere. Sounds like you're probing, boy. Next, Zachary Sitchin, Eric von Daniken, outright lying. The mythology, by mixing together Tibetan mythology and the Hebrew and the Aramaic and misquoting stuff and shoving in some Russian imperialism and then saying this will mean that Slavic countries and the Ukraine are going to be the seat of the new age and totally not nationalistic. So let's review. I can't watch the video to evaluate it any more than what they typed up. Thank goodness they typed up a little bit. Next thing, I looked up what they typed up. They get it wrong, especially when they say that this history is extremely limited and contradictory when it's not. You're looking at multiple generations of civilizations or separate ones for distance coming up with slightly different mythology, which literally everybody fucking did. And deciding you're going to misquote the Bible, Sumerian script, everybody, and history, and written records that are just blasé stuff right next to really important stuff, so it probably means it's real, doesn't give you any kind of pass with me. So what's my opinion of this group? Sounds like a nationalism meets religion mix-up. Sounds like a bad idea. It's an apocalyptic group. I wouldn't trust them with taking care of any long-term plans you have, since they think there's not much point sometimes. Some groups like this. ALLATRA and all of the other stuff in parts of this are not any different than any other group that has taken history, deliberately distorted it, in my opinion. I can't evaluate it completely because I can't, at least in this video, I can't do anything with it. But the Anunnaki, whatever way you spell it, ancient Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian deities are not what you're being told about. They aren't ancient aliens. But yes, ancient aliens visiting the planet would explain most of the fantastical shit in the Bible and all these other writings, because in order to be ancient astronauts from another star system, you'd have to warp time-space, which means if you made a little wormhole, it would look like that angel warping in and out of time-space and whirling and be really terrifying. I wouldn't want to walk into one. No one normally would. A blind man might. Might want to look for an ancient story of a blind man walking into a tunnel he could only sense by hearing it. Anyway, no, I don't believe they have any merit as far as their data sources, and misquoting history like Daniken and Sitchin is not useful. Lying about history isn't useful, and faking your ability as a Russian immigrant to channel things doesn't help anything either. Anybody have a better version of the video that plays easier? Please leave me a link. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that.